Well, we now cross to Peter Ndoro, who is at another SABC New Age breakfast briefing. Good morning to you, Peter.
A very good morning to you, Vuyo. Yes, indeed. We're in Sandton, just north of Johannesburg today for the latest in a series of New Age business briefings. And as you were saying earlier, the focus is on local government, and today we've got 5 of the 8 metropolitan mayors in the hot seat, and we'll be discussing all the issues that have concern to most citizens across the country, and they'll have an opportunity to have a chat with those 5 mayors a little bit later on. But first, before that, I've got the chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, and the reason we've got him in is that they've just come out with a report which is pretty unique, as it gives some kind of measured basis of measuring the state of affairs of municipalities. To tell us a little bit more about the state of the municipal capacity, I'm now joined by Landiwe Mahlangu, who's the chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Welcome to you.
Morning, Peter. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right, so tell us about this report. It's the only one of its kind. What does it measure?
Well, we've actually been doing this report from 2001. And we just briefly discontinued it in actually 2008, purely to actually change and see whether we can improve it. What this one, which is really covering, the period in 2010 and actually 11, basically it's more of an improvement, but it looks at all capacities of the municipalities. In other words, relating to staff, infrastructure, and the resources that are devoted to the various functions of the municipalities. Yes.
All right. So, what are this year's highlights? We're going to be chatting to these mayors a little bit later on. What have you found out?
Well, basically, what the key thing that I could say is that, we obviously have to do this report as part and parcel of our performance of our core functions of the boundary. So we need to actually check what capacities are there in the municipalities. And clearly, one of the things that one can highlight is the issue of actually staff. I mean, staff is actually one of the human capacities, and invariably, becomes one of the key variables. And we actually found that overall, within the municipalities, the has been, in other words, there's almost about 72% of all the posts that are being filled. There is
so there's 28% under capacity.
Well, you could say 28% under capacity, but I mean, if you go down, you'd actually say that what we attribute that to is that either the municipalities have actually over-designed, their structures, which means you'll always have got that vacancies. Okay. But in some instances, indeed, you find that there is, quite a shortage of capacity in some key functions.
Terence Nombebe, the Auditor General, said that a lot of these staff are not fully qualified. Did you find that?
We have actually strangely found that with the high level, particularly on the municipal managers, most of them are actually quite qualified. As a matter of fact, if you compare what the situation has been in 2008 and now, there's been quite a very huge, improvement on that layer. And similarly, actually, with some of the chief financial officers, there has been. The only area that I think we think there's still a bit of a concern is on what we call technical services areas. We find that this is one area that actually still, in the scheme of things, really is under-resourced in. Yeah.
So we're talking about engineers here, things like that.
We're talking about engineers and the technical people, and that area is much more acute in the more rural municipalities. Yeah.
Does this report measure things like service delivery, for example?
Well, I think one could say indirectly, to an extent, that service delivery has got to be, if you like, undertaken by skilled management, by actually ensuring that programs are being executed, particularly on the infrastructure side. One might just say that one should be concerned if there is a shortage of that specific area in the municipalities. Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you very much for giving us some food for thought, as it were, to put to our mayors a little bit later on. Chairperson Mahlangu, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Okay, so I've just been talking to the chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, Landiwe Mahlangu, talking to us about the latest report on the state of capacity of our municipalities. And as he said, his biggest concern really is around staff issues. But we'll explore that a little bit more in detail about 7:10 when we meet the mayors. Right now, though, let's find out what's been happening in the world of sport. And I've got to tell you, Velen, I'm a happy person.